established Rich coming right back at you. And today we got to talk about Boosie Badazz calling out Caleb Williams for having painted fingernails on the Madden cover. And I'm going to be real with y'all. This is one of those topics where I understand why both sides are arguing. Because if you grew up, when I grew up, a man painting his fingernails meant something different. That wasn't just style. That wasn't just self-expression. That wasn't just being different. In our era, if a man had painted nails, people were going to make certain assumptions about him immediately. Now, we can argue whether that was fair or not, but that's the world that a lot of us came from. So when Boosie sees Caleb Williams on the cover of Madden with painted fingernails, I understand why his mind goes straight to the young boys that's watching. Madden is not just a video game. For a lot of young boys, Madden is football culture. It's the game you play with your brother, your cousins, your homeboys, your daddy, your uncles, everybody. So when the cover athlete is the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, standing there with painted nails, Boosie is looking at it like, what kind of message is this for little boys? I get why he asked the question, but I also think this conversation needs more maturity than just calling Caleb out like he's trying to destroy the youth. Because Caleb Williams has explained why he does it. He has said this goes back to his mother, who worked as a nail technician, and he talked about it as his own form of expressing his love for her. So before we just throw the man away, we have to at least acknowledge that his reason may be real to him.
At me right now in the DM, they going off in my DM. Boosie, you gonna be part of the community with us? Nah, bro. I just feel like, they mad because the truth hurts, I come up under Tecmo Bowl. I never thought in a million years that I would see a Madden cover with one of the best players with his fingernails painted. A game that sold to billions of little boys. What kind of message are they sending to these little boys? I never thought in a million years I would see this. As parents, how much do they have to do for us to say that's not right? Us daddies gotta go tell these boys that we got raising them to be men. That's wrong, son. That's for women. And not just daddies. These mothers, single mothers who raising boys to be men. You have to tell your son that's not right. Or in a couple months, he going to play in your fingernail polish.
Boosie is speaking from an old school place. Some people are going to hate that. Some people going to call him outdated. Some people going to say he's being ignorant. But if we being honest, a lot of men his age and older feel the same way he feels, even if they wouldn't say it out loud. They grew up with clear lines around what was considered masculine. They grew up in a culture where football players were supposed to look a certain way, move a certain way, and represent a certain kind of male image. Now here comes Caleb Williams, a young quarterback, on the cover of one of the biggest sports video games in the world, doing something that would have been unthinkable to a lot of older men back in the day. That's what a culture clash is. This is not just about nail polish. This is about two generations looking at the same image and seeing two completely different things. Boosie sees little boys being influenced by something he believes belongs to women. And that's why this topic is so complicated. Because I can understand Caleb's personal reason and still understand why some fathers wouldn't want their son copying it. That doesn't mean you hate Caleb. That don't mean you think he can't play football. It just means you looking at the influence differently. And influence is the word that matters here. Caleb may be doing this for his own reasons, but a little boy watching him may not understand those reasons. A little boy may just see the Madden cover and say, Caleb Williams paints his nails, so I want to do it too. Now some people gonna say, so what? And that's what the argument is. For some people, it's no big deal. For other people, especially older fathers, it's a big deal because they see it as another line being moved. And this is where Boosie's delivery hurts his point. Because he could have said, I respect Caleb as an athlete. I understand that he has his personal reasons for doing it. But as a father, I wouldn't want my son following that. That would have been a better conversation. But Boosie being Boosie, he went straight to the hardest version of it. And once you start talking like that, people stop engaging with the concern and start responding to the insult.
You know what I'm saying? Next is gonna be lipstick on the covers, thongs. Is that enough? Man hiking a ball with a thong in it. Is that enough for you to tell your child that it's wrong? That is wrong. See, that's what it's going to next. Lipstick, thongs. I never thought I would see this, A game that sold to billions of little boys. You're pushing it. Half of these kids, so young, they can't even think for themselves too much. Some of them can, but most of them, they go by what they see. You know, like, what message are they putting on these billions of little boys who buy these games? You know, I'm just asking as a parent to the other parents, when is enough enough? John Madden turning over in his grave. It's a sad day for Madden.
This is where Boosie starts losing people. When he starts talking about slippery slopes and what may come next, that's when the argument gets too emotional. You can say you don't like painted nails on a male athlete without turning it into a whole doomsday speech about the future of little boys. That's where the conversation gets away from it, because Caleb Williams is still a football player. He's still a quarterback, and he's still leading a team. He is still doing something that requires discipline, talent, courage, and a competitive fire. Painting nails does not automatically erase that. And that's what some of us older men have to be honest too. The world changed. A lot of things that meant one thing when we were young do not always mean the same thing to this generation. They look at style different. They look at expression different. They look at masculinity different. We may not like all of it. We may not understand all of it. But we cannot pretend the meaning of every symbol stayed stuck in 1995. Now at the same time, the younger generation has to understand something too. Everything you call expression still has influence. And when you become the face of Madden, you're not just doing something in your living room. You're on one of the biggest sports covers in the world. That image is going to travel. Kids are going to see it. Parents are going to have opinions. And some fathers are going to say, I respect Caleb, but I don't want my son doing that. That should be allowed to be said without everybody acting like the person is automatically hateful. Because I'm going to be honest, I personally would not want my son painting his fingernails, but that's just me. But I also have to be careful not to turn my personal standard into disrespect for another man. That's the balance. I can say I wouldn't want that for my son without acting like Caleb Williams is a bad person. I can say I understand Boosie's point without signing off on everything Boosie said. That's how grown people talk about this.
It's like just wearing pink cleats and pink headbands or pink, you know, and things like that. It's just gel on my nails. And so, you know, people feel a certain way about it in a masculine sport, you know, and I give no fucks, to be honest with you. I could care less.
The reason this story is so big is because it touches a nerve. It touches fatherhood. It touches masculinity. It touches generational change. It touches the way black men talk about image, style, and what we think young boys should see. And that's why I don't want to be dismissive of Boosie or Caleb. Boosie is speaking from a protective place, even if his words come out different. Caleb is speaking from a personal place, and his reason for doing it is tied to his mom. Two things can be true in the same conversation. A man can have a real reason for how he presents himself, and parents can still question whether that image is something they want their children copying. That's not an easy conversation, but it's a real one. Where I think Boosie should have been more careful is in how he talked about Caleb's manhood. You can question an image without degrading a person. You can say, I don't agree with that, without trying to humiliate him. And when you humiliate somebody, the message gets lost. Caleb says he doesn't care what people think, and I understand that from a personal confidence standpoint. But when you are that visible, it's not just about what you care about. It's also about what your image does once it leaves you. That doesn't mean Caleb has to live his life for everybody else's comfort, but it does mean the conversation is bigger than I do what I want, because influence doesn't ask if you intended it. It just happens. Young boys look up to athletes. They copy their cleats, their celebrations, their haircuts, their wristbands, their training routines, and yes, some will copy their style. So Boosie ain't crazy for saying athletes influence kids. He just needs to make that point without making it sound like Caleb is less of a man. And people defending Caleb need to be honest enough to admit that parents have a right to care about what their children see. That don't make the parent backward. That makes the parent responsible for raising their child according to their own values. So I'm going to take it out like this. I understand why Boosie feels how he feels. I would not want my son painting his nails either. But I also think Boosie could have said that without insulting Caleb. Caleb's reason for doing it seems personal to him. And I'm not going to mock a man for honoring his mama. But Caleb also has to understand that when you put that image on the cover of Madden, people are going to talk about what it means to the kids who look up to you. That's the complicated part. That's not a simple good guy, bad guy story. This is a generational argument about what masculinity looks like now, what it used to look like then, and how much responsibility a public athlete has when his personal style becomes a public image. And I don't think everybody has to agree, but I do think we need to talk about it without trying to destroy each other. Because if the goal is to protect young boys, then the conversation has to be more mature than just insults, shame, and internet screaming. Boosie made a point that a lot of fathers understand. Caleb represents a generation that don't see the world through the old rules. And the rest of us are sitting in the middle trying to figure out where personal freedom ends and public influence begins. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Establish Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.